let's look into different types of variables. What are the different types of variables? Okay, so there are three types of variables. So the types of variables is like local variable, which is declared inside the body of the method and can be used within the method, and the other methods in the class are not aware of it. Okay. Then we have instance method that is declared inside the class but outside the body of the method. Its value is instance specific and is not shared among other instances. And we have static variables. Okay. Then static variable is basically declared using a static keyword. So in static variables, a single copy is shared among all the instances of the class. Okay, whenever the class loads, so a memory is allocated to a single variable, and that same instance is shared across all the is shared across all the class. We cannot like override it, or we can change it. Okay. So these are the use of this is static variables. It is mostly introduced like if you have to have a if you want to have a common value or data across your program or instances. Whenever you create an object, so you want to have a common value across all the instances. In this scenario, like we are having a static variable. Okay, so let's see the program for each variable and then we can understand it in a better way. Okay, let's start. Okay, so let's create a new class called variable local. So now let's see how we when how we are dealing with the local variables. Okay, so when we are dealing with the local variables, so as I mentioned, like it is particular to that method. Okay, so its scope is limited to that particular method. So other methods available in a class are not aware of it. Okay, so let's say how do we do that? So let's say you have a method, main method. Here you declare int variable, int age is equal to 10 years, 10. Okay, s out tab. When you run this, like you will get age as 10. So it is limited to this particular main method. Okay, so here if we create another variable, like another method, like public int age, and if we try to access this, like age equal to 30, we'll be getting the error. Okay, because it is telling that it cannot resolve the age symbol, because here we have defined it into a particular method, and the scope of this particular variable is limited within this particular main method only. Okay, so this is what local variable means. Okay, we can also now let's go ahead and look into instance variable. Okay, create a new package, sorry, class, and look as variable inst. So instance variable, so as we saw in the documentation, like instant variables is basically declared inside a class but outside the body of the method. Okay, its value is instance specific is and is not shared among all other instances. So let's see in detail. So this is my ID, so let's get started here. So here I have a public class, so let us create some one more class here, class demo. Okay, and let's specify some variables like string name equal to sorry, like it is main as public string name. So we have defined a variable. Let's go ahead and define another variable, public age equal to 19. Okay, and sorry, public int age equal to 19, and let's have a constructor for this. Okay. Constructor we are basically creating so that we can initialize the values. Like here we have specified the age value, but in case we want to specify the initialize the value of the name field, we have to initialize it through a constructor. We'll be looking constructors into detail later, but for now, like how we are initializing the value is with the help of constructors. Okay, so constructor name should be same as. Okay, so now let's have a main method, and let's try to create an object of it, like a demo. This is how we create an object. Okay, so we'll be looking at object creation later in detail. So but this is also basically known as instance creation. Like the object creation process is also known as instance creation. Okay, so here we specify the value obj dot name equal to remove this. We will be providing the value for that name variable through the instance only. Okay, so let's do that. So how we can do is like name equal to this dot name. Okay, so here we have name age. Okay, so let's specify that age we already have given here, so no need to give here age. Name equal to age equal to this. So let, as we'll be creating two instances, so let this name as 1 and 2. Now let's create another mm, object, that is demo obj2 equal to new demo. So now we are creating the second object to see like the instance of one object and the instance of the second object are like different. Okay, so now here we specify the value as name equal. So now let's run it. Okay, so, cool. So now you can see that like when we have created a first object, we have assigned it as the name as Alex, and so when we are printing the value, we are getting here the name 1 as Alex, age is equal to 19, because in age is taken from the which from the like the value which are which is already declared. Okay, in from the instance value, we are not defining the age later on here. Okay, and John, like we have created a second object, so you can see that these both instances, that is object 1 and object 2, both are not contradicting each other. Okay, both are separate objects. Okay, so a single instance, like for these instance only this value is getting updated. Okay, and for the second instance, when we are creating a second instance, this value is only created. So what happens in the memory is like now two different objects are created. Okay, for with this line of code, two different objects are created, that is obj1 and obj2. So obj1 is having like the variables name, okay, and age. So age is already here, we have defined 19, so age value will be 19. So name value is given as Alex for the first object, and for the second object it is given as John. Okay, so this is how like the instance variable is created. The use of instance variable, like they are not contradicting each other, so they are limited to the instance of that particular variable, you can say, like it is declared inside the class, but like it is not declared inside any of the other methods. Okay, so that is the how we create an instance variable, and this is how we are going to use it. Okay, now let's see the last variable, that is static variable. Okay, so variable static. So let's create a main method. So how do we create a static variable is, like we are creating a static variable with the help of static keyword. Okay, same copy is shared across all the instances of the object. Memory allocation happens only one during the when the class is loading. Okay, so let's see it in detail. So let's declare a static variable. Okay, static int age. We have declared a static variable. We are not assigning any values, we'll be assigning it through the object creation, like with the help of the instances. Okay, now we are creating the other objects here. So let's say create object, maybe it has two, and then we can specify here obj1 dot age equal to 10, obj2 dot age equal to 20. Okay, now let's see the output here. Now you see here like the object age 1 and age 2 both are 2, both are having the same values, that is 20. So what is the use of this age that we have in its given the value as 10? So what happens, like first we have created the object two objects, so object 1 and object 2. So in the memory like two objects are created. Okay, so object 1 has age field age as 10, the other the sorry in memory like two objects are created, obj1 and obj2. But when we are declaring a variable as static, so the value remains the same. So what happens, like in static in memory we have a static variable age. So initially with this value, the value is having the 10th value. So later on the value gets updated, so it becomes 2. Now it is having only a single age variable in the memory. Okay, we are having two objects, but both the objects are accessing to the same variable, that is age. Now when they access it, so earlier the value was 10, but later on when with this instruction, the value gets updated to 20. So when we fetch both the result, so we get the same value. Okay, so if we are trying to update a value, so that value is getting updated in case of static variable, and that same value is fetched across the class. So that's why like it tells like the static variable is having a single copy and is shared across all the instances of the class. Okay, and memory allocation happens only once. So how the flow of the program works, like when the main method is executed, two objects are like here in when the class is loaded, we get a in memory a age variable is created. So after creating the variable, like with the execution of the main method, two objects are created, object 1 and object 2. So object 1, what it does, it goes and updates the static field value as 10. Now the object 2 goes and update the same value as 20. Now that single instance, since we are having a single instance of the age field, so both the objects, when they are trying to fetch the age parameter or the age field, they are getting the same value. So the best practice is like we should always try to fetch the static field values using the class name. So let's see how do we do that. So variable static dot age equal to 30. So this is how we should always try to fetch the values. Okay, now when we try to fetch the values, so with these set of instruction, what will happen is like the value will be updated as 30 in the field age, and we'll be getting the 30 as the output for both the objects. Okay, so here you go, like we are having the both the values as 30. Okay, so we should always use a class name for fetching the static field values. So let me comment this out and try to print it. There you go. So you should have always use a class to fetch the static field values. Okay, so in this lecture like we have gone through the types of variables. Sorry, from the starting, like we have gone through like what variable is, what are its syntax, like how we use it in our programming, what are the different types of variables, like how do we store a string variable or integer variable or a float variable, how do we declare and store a value in it. And we have also seen like what are the different types of variables, like instance variable, local variable, and static variables. Okay, so we have seen like how what is the difference between all the three of them, and how the instances, like how the values of all these variables are shared across the class, across the different instances or different methods, like how do we use it. Okay, uh, that's all for this video. Thank you.